kind of planned on going flying today, but it's, I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's raining out. Yeah, 80% chance of storms. It wasn't supposed to hit till this afternoon, but it hit this morning. So anyway, shop day. Got some updates here for you. Been super busy with pylon racing if you've been following that series, and so took a day off yesterday and went out to a car show and that, and had some fun with the family. So today I am back on the 50cc Edge. I have been ordering parts for this, waiting for parts to show up so I could get this thing finished up. Got carbon fiber rods for the elevator, push rods there, and they're working. I got to fine tune it a little bit. I mean, that'll come, before flight time. I don't know where what I've all showed on this, but I did make a hatch for the rudder servo that's back there. This is just out of balsa wood. It's 1/8 inch balsa sheet, and then I added 2 strips of balsa underneath to kind of create that channel, so that way it's loose. It does fit kind of tight, but with a piece of wire it was able to shove it through. That way it's just protected and it won't flop all over the place when we're flying. Yep, I put some holes in the side of the fuselage. I was planning on doing like I did on the knife with these guys for guides, but by the time I got the holes big enough for the ends, which have heat shrink on it, as you can see there, they were floppy in the center, so that became a very bad idea. I'm sitting here scratching my head over it for quite a few hours what I was going to do, and came up with landing gear straps. So anyway, these are carbon fiber rods. They have 256 thread on the inside of them. This is all epoxy together. The rods go a couple inches into the carbon fiber. If I remember right, these are 1 millimeter inside, 2 millimeter outside carbon fiber rods that I got. So I've never done that before, but I've read a lot of people online have done rods like that, and this thing's looking like it's going to come out tail heavy. So I wanted to keep it as light as I could possibly get the tail. Kind of glad I moved the elevator servos up to the front, but they seem strong, and I used 30-minute epoxy in there. It's set up now, but they're obviously going to have to wait a full day to cure. So there's that. I think my radio still, I'm not going to plug it in, but yeah, everything moves like it should. I'll do a separate video on setting up dual elevator servos on this thing and show the techniques behind doing that to make sure they're going up and down correctly. So I got that. I got some props here. 2010, one for the Spitfire, and then another one for this. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll patch those holes up. I got some yellow over here that I can make a few patches and patch that up. I still need to take the screws out, harden the threads in there so that way they don't move. So there's the underneath, and I just went some more. Now these, a lot of guys said on the internet that you didn't need to use guides to guide carbon fiber push rods in your fuselage, and I'm like, yeah, they were like wet noodles in there, so they needed guides. I don't know what they were talking about. So anyhow, like I said in the last video of this, I'm not going to show a whole lot of this finalizing the project here and getting it done. Next up, I'm going to get some tires on it and some axles, and then I'll move up to the front and get the fuel tank mounted. I did figure out on that fuel tank that this guy here, this is from Tail Dragger RC. These are pre-made tanks. Then this guy here is a fill tube. If I can get you in the video here. This guy here is a fill. This is obviously your supply, and this is a vent. So what you do here is you put some Tygon on here and you loop this around here. So when your inverted fuel don't leak out of it. But the tank does need to be vented. It does not use muffler pressure though to fly. And if I'm wrong, tell me about it. Because I have not used this tank yet, so I'm pretty sure that's how that is all supposed to work. So I don't think I like the fact that I might have to pull that out and put that over to the other side, so that way it gets, because when it's on its side, it ain't gonna reach the corner because it's getting stopped by that piece of tubing. Which is, yeah, so we'll do that. But probably gonna mount this something like this, you know, something here. I'll put a couple eyes in the side of the fuselage and use rubber bands to hold it on. And I know you don't really need to isolate these tanks, but I will be putting a piece of foam in between there. So anyways, I'll probably just cap this guy off because you know, probably what I mean by that is I won't use it, so I can put a bolt in there or something to just seal it up. I don't know, we'll see. Open fuselage, so really don't need a feeler, you know, on this. But I do know that the lines can be, you know, kind of hard to come off too, so maybe I will use it. We'll see. I'll decide when I get there. So anyways, next up is wheels, tank, hatches. I got to cover those yet. Put the anti-rotation bar in, drill and balance the prop. Probably not going to run a spinner on this. Just going to hand start these. This thing starts up by hand easy enough. And then onto the wings and get aileron servos in there. So hopefully the next time hopefully when I come back on this video, it'll be getting it started up. So anyways, we'll talk to you in a bit. All right, so we got all the aileron linkages hooked up. That was not that big of a deal. Ended up going with these 440 easy adjustable ball links on the arms. You can see how those work. You do not get a center bolt. I found on these that the 632 bolt, or no, 256 bolt went down through the center, so that's what I did there. I'll get you under here real quick. Big planes, you gotta sometimes dive underneath. That's a little crooked, that's alright. So 440 rod, high-tech arm. Obviously using the 645 MGs out here. Should be plenty strong enough for what we're going to be doing with this. And so yeah, they went together really well. Got a lock nut on there. You can't torque them down, so I would highly recommend if you use these, you know, put a lock nut on it. I will I'll check them after the first flight to see if they've loosened up any, if they had vibrations or whatever, loosen things up. So got that going on. Still got to fix my holes. I have to, excuse me when I stand up here. Still got to fix the holes in the fuse there, but that's not a big deal. Like I said, a little bit of covering will cover that stuff right up. The biggest issue I'm having right now is balance. And I think I said before where this thing's coming out tail heavy, and it is very tail heavy. I put 2 pounds of weight on the nose, and I still was in a tail heavy position. That's just, I mean, I don't mind adding weight to an airplane, but to strap 2 pounds of weight to the nose of this thing's going to be a little, I think, too much. I weighed it. It's about 10.5 pounds right now. So that's a good weight for, you know, good aerobatic performance. That's plenty of motor for a 10 to 12 pound plane. Yeah. So anyways, but the problem is, you know, you get a 11 pound plane, you add 3 pounds of weight to it, all of a sudden you got a 15 to 16 pound plane, and performance is going to struggle. Now there's a couple things that we can do. We can take the metal gear servo that we got on the rudder and move it up. We can move the elevator servos up. you know, lengthen the arm rods out and move them up on the CG. The problem with that is I'm going to start running out of room around the CG, and it's not going to move that much weight up ahead. On a typical airplane, you would move the motor ahead. So, and I can't do that right now. So what am I going to do? Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the motor ahead. So I am going to redesign the front end of this plane. Now, when I first started building this, I think this is where the firewall was at. Is right here. I'll have to go back and check my own video, but I'm pretty sure that's where I ended the fuselage at, was at the firewall, because I intended to do somewhat of a hybrid, and the motor was going to get mounted here, you know, where the prop drive is at, and then do like a triangular shape. And I figured I abandoned that idea, and I never moved the motor back where it needs to go. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to kill a couple birds with one stone here, because that looks stupid. I'm sorry, that just, I don't have room for a pit style muffler, and I'm not going to spend $90 some on a Pitts muffler for this, just so it looks right. That's an inverted Pitts muffler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the engine off, and I'm going to fill this hole in, probably plywood or whatnot, make it nice and strong. And then I'm going to take some of those balsa chunks I got up there, and I'm going to make some very large tri-stock. And I'm going to put a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch plate up here, probably double it up, double up 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to invert the motor. And then I got the motor mounts over here somewhere, and I'm going to put it like it should be on the center line, and I'm going to invert the motor, and that'll move that up at least 4 inches, and that'll give me a little bit more flexibility. So, you know, it's all about, when you're balancing a plane, it's all about, you know, where everything's located at and stuff. So, you know, that's I'm just gonna bite the bullet. I don't really like the way the motor's mounted anyways. So gonna go recede back a little bit. I'll cut, you know, trim all this covering back, and like I said, I'll make some rather large gussets to go up here, and it'll be solid balsa. Should be plenty strong enough. Remember, we got quite a bit of ply in here. We got plywood coming all the way back here, and I mean, if need be, I'll screw the firewall down to it too. So I'm gonna get started doing that here tonight. I'm not sure how far I'll make it with it, but I'm not gonna videotape all that. That's pretty cut and dry stuff. You know, cut a firewall out, cut some custom blocks out to make it stronger, epoxy the whole mess together. I'm not worried about adding nose weight to this thing. And then if push comes to shove, I have another engine. I have a Quadra 50 that runs over at the other shop, and I can mount that to it, and that'll add a tremendous amount of weight to the nose of it, because those are heavy engines. These are very light engines. They only weigh like 4.5, 5 pounds, I think I read. So it's like a 50cc engine in a 40cc case or something like that, 45cc size. So that's where I'm going to go with this. I really going to do everything I can to run the BME engine, because I think it's going to make for a really nice combination on this plane. But I need to fix this balance. I don't want to strap 3, maybe 4 pounds of lead to the nose, and I don't have very many options for other engines that beam mount like this. So yeah, and plus it'll put it where it was originally intended to be. So anyways, I'm going to get started doing that, and I'm not sure if I'll end this video here or not. I'll have tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be much flying going on tomorrow either, because we're off tomorrow for Memorial Day. And so yeah, so anyways, I'll probably bring it back when I get all that done. All right, a little bit of an update here. I made the firewall a little taller than the mount itself, just so it would clear our angles here. As you can see, I know it's not the prettiest. My cuts weren't super straight. And if you remember, I had to go in here and Dremel out to put the motor in there and stuff. So I was able to squeeze some 1/2 inch balsa wood in there. I'm not too worried about the gap here. We'll cake that in with some epoxy when we make the triangular pieces here. So I went ahead and drilled out for the mounts. Added some 832 blind nuts to the back. Or no, those are 10. Pardon me. I think that's what I got. Yeah, 10. So got those in there. It's epoxied in. I went ahead and used some number 6 button head screws to go in. I pre-drilled it. Biggest thing that I did is I went ahead and pilot drilled this whole mess together, and then I came back and I drilled out the firewall so the threads would just slide in and out. The reason for that is we want to pull it. You don't want to have any gaps in here. Trying to make this as strong as I possibly can. Some of the neat things that you can see about it right now is if you look real close to the top here. See that little line? Let's see. Right there. It's kind of angled a little bit. That's the epoxy sucking into the balsa wood. You can also see it in the corners in here. And that's 30-minute epoxy, so it's still, I just epoxied it and it's starting to set up, but we're going to let this sit and dry for several hours before I mess with it. And then I got these blocks down, basically coming down. What I'm thinking is be something like that. I'd like it to be a little taller. You know, I'd like it to come up to here and then down to here. So might have to get a little creative with the blocking, something like that. And then we'll cut it off. Obviously, it doesn't need to be any wider than the firewall here. And then we'll angle this back like a giant piece of tri-stock. And then we'll follow this angle here. And then I'll get my covering out and we'll recover it. So, and then that'll be complete. So you can see that we went from like this, and we'll end up like this. Yep, gonna do inverted mount just to clean things up a little bit. I did center plywood there. I know it looks a little crooked in the video, but it's straight. Straight enough for what we're doing. Do have a little bit of right thrust built into it. You can see that moved that motor out way out there, so we should have a minimum amount of weight. And if I do end up having to do weight in here, I can always drill out my block and I can shove weight in there. I can melt some lead into some cylinders just to get some weight up in the nose if I need it. Obviously I'm going to have to rebalance. I'm going to have to make a new throttle linkage here. I'm fairly certain that will fit, yeah, because that'll be over here somewhere. So yeah, and I mean, if it flies nice, I mean, maybe we'll invest and make a cowl for it or something. I don't know. You know, possibilities are endless once it flies to make it pretty. So anyways, that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to let this sit here and dry and go to take care of a few things. And I will probably get that, I'll for sure get those blocks made up and get them epoxied in today, and then we'll probably call it a video from there. So anyways, I'll bring you back when I got more to show you. Alright, so sometimes you got to get a little creative with your clamping here. It's not a bad idea to be able to clamp your tri-stocks in if you can. I bought these, and I've used them before, like on the bandsaw and that, but I got some longer ones too. The whole reason for buying these guys here And the longer ones was, you know, if I have to do a firewall replacement, which I've had to do in the past, you know, you can reach up into the wing saddle and clamp the new firewall to the face of the airplane that you're working on, you know, on a typical, you know, box fuselage or whatever. So anyways, that's where I'm at right now. I went ahead and cut all those tri-stock pieces out. I used blocks of wood. Here's one that's left over. And then I set the bandsaw up on a pretty steep angle there, 50 degrees I think is where it maxes out at. And I just, like I said, giant pieces of tri-stock in there. So, went together very well. I did drill some holes through here for the bolts to go through. And I left the bolts in there because I'm no doubtly going to get some epoxy on them. So, we'll let this dry overnight. And then back those bolts out, and if need be, we'll clean the threads up or whatever, or even maybe even get some new bolts. I got plenty upstairs. I know I got some exposed balsa wood there. I took the little dribblings and a little bit of leftover epoxy I had, and I went ahead and sealed that up with epoxy. So I don't know if I could get covering to stick to this or not. I might try, but for the most part, I'm just gonna epoxy it. I'll probably get that resin, that fiberglass resin out and seal up the firewall from oil and stuff, and get that done this week. So anyways, we're getting there. Like Rat Rod Bob says, we're getting there, but we just ain't got it yet. So probably gonna end this video here. Not much more to show, and that's got to dry substantially longer before I start mounting the motor and you know, doing all the rest of the stuff that's required to move this engine around. So, and then, you know, you're like 90% done. Yeah, we got 90% to go. Still got a long ways to go. A lot of fine tuning and making sure this engine's going to run with the new ignition module. I got to get fuel mixed up for it. So, I got all the receiver dangling there. I got to get batteries. Got to get switches installed. So, we're getting there. Hopefully next few weeks we might get her done. So anyways, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.